would you do if you got pregnant right now? Would you be able to keep going to school and be able to provide for your child at the same time? In 2007, 19% of women at an undergraduate university dropped out due to pregnancy. For some people, birth control is just another form of abortion. In 2009, the total of abortions were 784,507 reported to the CDC, which is the Center of Disease Control and Prevention. But how do I start explaining how important it really is without bringing up sex? We all know that sex is a controversial topic because it is seen as something intimate that should be private, like something that you know that happens, but you're not supposed to talk about because mom's the word. Let's talk about the rise of birth control, which was due to the decline in death rates, which was an overall increase in the world's population. In the early 1900s, Margaret Higgins Sanger, also known as the Rebel Woman, founded what became known as the birth control movement in the United States. She also opened the first birth control clinic in Brooklyn, New York. She saw birth control as a way for women to have some equality and rights over their own bodies. This brings us back to the question we asked earlier. Would you be happier knowing that you can choose to bring a child into this world, being able to support it without any hesitation? Preventing unwanted pregnancy seems to be an easier choice than having to abort or to give your baby up for adoption. Earlier I mentioned that some people might think that birth control is just another form of abortion. But if you had a choice to have a child when you wanted that opportunity, unlike some women that do not have the luxury or the privilege to choose when to have a child or if they should have a child. For example, in the film that we watched, La Operación, the Puerto Rican society took away a woman's greatest right to control their own body, or specifically the ability to decide to have children. Here the women had to abide by the husband. The husband chose for them whether they were sterilized or not. This was their form of birth control. You can see now that it's important for women to be informed about birth control and how far, as a woman activist, they give us this privilege to choose. So why would you not take advantage of this right that so many have fought for? When Roe v. Wade happened, women were fighting for their right to privacy. That women should be able to have their choice of whether to have an abortion or go forward with a pregnancy. Sandra Fluke has been fighting for insurance plans to cover birth control. So you can see that even though we have birth control, there are still women activists that are fighting to make birth control available at hand's reach. Feminism, to simply put it, is the empowerment of women. Now, what gives women power is that what many opinions differ. It is our opinion that what gives women power is more power financially, as well as the more power over women's bodies. Now, power over women's bodies, as we showed earlier, is able to plan when you want to get pregnant, and so you can be financially stable rather than having unwanted pregnancy early on, as is the case in most teenage pregnancies. When we say power over women's body, we mean choice. Whether the choice is birth control or whether to carry the child for 9 months. Many people, mostly men, have differential input on the subject. I can understand, but not necessarily agree with people that have differential opinions on abortion. But I believe that would be even more of the reason to have a greater availability of birth control. Part of empowerment is women having a greater amount of choice. If they choose to have a baby at 15, it is just their right to choose to wait until marriage to have that choice. As Margaret Sanger once said, no woman can call herself free who does not control their own body. Thank you. Have a good night.